These are our heat sinks.
Yeah, I know. I just humble bragged. I think I might have been the first to run a computer over 1 gigahertz.
Right, then you probably use something like this.
No, because I did my own water cooling, and then the chill element, I had like minus 25 on the bottom of the CPU.
Fantastic.
We were like way back.
Minus 25.
Yeah, I was very proud of that.
We have about 130.
Okay.
So as you can see, the building is being refitted.
Yeah.
I don't know, Nook's probably told you, but at the moment, so the building used to look like this on every single row. So feel free to take as many pictures of this as you like. But
and what are these guys?
So these are our original chips. These have been in the dust for a year and a half. They've been running full. A year and a half, 18 months they've been running.
And now you're changing them.
So now we have a new generation.
Why?
So
why 18 months and now they're going to the scrap pile?
No, not really. There's a lot of reusable parts on it. All of these yellow bits that you can see here are power distribution modules. What we do is we take all of those off and put them on the new parts.
Okay.
So it's not all of it that gets scrapped. Obviously the heat sinks, we reuse them, we clean them, the fans, we reuse them. The shelves are the same. But yeah, there is a few small components and the big chip. He's the old generation.
Yeah. So trying to wrap my head around this Bitcoin, what is it actually that you do here?
So we process all the transactions. We provide security. There is, on each one of these chips, there's 192 calculations a second, times 4, times 6. Times, exactly. And that's the old chip, right? The new chip is thousands of calculations per core, per chip, per second, per rack, per row. Basically bring us up to hundreds of billions of calculations a second. And that provides an awful lot of security to the Bitcoin network.
And how is that tied together, the computing power and the security in the network?
So the simplest way to imagine it is imagine trying to crack a password. Right, and your password is 5 digits long. Now you might start at 99999 and I'm going to start at 000 and eventually one of us will get there. Now if you have another third person in the room and 3 of us try it, then we're going to get there faster. We're going to find the result faster. So what the Bitcoin network does is no matter how many people try, as soon as the average is less than 10 minutes to find the answer, it makes the problem harder. So now we've got 6 digits, or 8 digits, or 10 digits. And right now we're at billions of digits, right? So we're way out there in front. And in order for you to reverse a transaction, or to not agree that one has happened, you have to have more computing power than the rest of the network against you. And so now you need mega data centers just to play a part. So in order to stop it, the calculation is something like 400 billion laptops to try to delay a transaction by 10 minutes. And that's all it will do, because we'll pick it up and we'll put it in the next block. So that provides the security.
So besides the actual the Bitcoin transactions and me buying you a drink or paying for, whatever, where do you see this technology going? What are the potentials of it?
So really the massive potential is the ledger, this public ledger that's underneath. And so we can see that the Bitcoin blockchain can be used to secure anything that's public information. Imagine voting. If you send a Bitcoin transaction to me, that's a transaction. Now if imagine that was a vote casting system. You can cast your vote for anyone. Nobody can ever say you didn't do it. Nobody can ever say one person got more than the other. Nobody can ever defraud any voting system at all if it's public. You'll have to have hundreds of billions of laptops just to stop a vote by 10 minutes. That's an amazing case. And it can be used for voting for presidents, but it can also be used for voting for local councilmen. It can also be used for voting for football teams, sports captains. I think FIFA have had a reasonable issue lately that with voting, with voters being bought off. Now, if it was voted by the players, by the massive amount, then the blockchain technology would secure it across the globe. In 10 minutes, voting is cast, finished, done. That's one case.
So going back to the more money, like there's Danish sayings about money, like only rude people talk about money, but this is a digital gold mine, so I'm gonna have to bring it up, right?
It's okay, it's fine.
It seems that you have quite a lot of investment here.
Yes.
And where does the money come from?
So we started from the very beginning. We started with one chip. We started and we got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and we just keep reinvesting everything. So we haven't really pulled profit out of KNC at all. We're just getting bigger and stronger. We have 2 of these facilities here. A third one is opening in a few weeks' time across the road. So we just keep getting better. We're now the only company in the world with a 16 nanometer chip. And that chip is, it's $20 million just to buy the first few chips. So it is a lot of money that's needed. But yeah, we're just expanding, constantly reinvesting.
Mm-hmm. And do you have those chips here that we could actually see?
They unfortunately, they look the same.
Yeah, I know. They all look the same.
They look the same. What we see as a chip is what we call a package.
Yeah.
And that, to me and you, is what we call chip. But to my guys inside, there's silicon inside.
Yeah.
But maybe there are some boards that you guys can actually take with you, and you can actually see them close up. But they do, unfortunately, they look the same.
Yeah.
I'd love for them to be,
No.
better.
I used to wear a 4046 DX100 around my neck.
Okay, there you go.
That's a neck chain. So.
Well, these are bigger. We can have we have a new neck chain for you.
All right. How much time do we have? I just want to make sure.
20 minutes, half an hour.
Okay.
It's okay.
Beautiful. Thank you. Where do you see? And I might, seem stupid. I might ask the same question in a slightly different.
That's okay.
You know how it works.
I know how it works.
I'm just doing my job, officer.
Just make me look good afterwards. I'm okay.
Okay. So how did you actually get involved with Bitcoin?
So I was reading about Bitcoin in about 2010, 2011. I didn't think much of it. And then I think it was December 2012, I had a lot of time on my hand over Christmas because I'm an IT guy. And over the Christmas period, IT guys are basically supposed to stand still and not do anything, right? So I was reading lots about it, and I figured there's this digital currency that you can create with computing power. Well, I know a bit about computing power, and I was working for some banks, and I thought, well, let's give it a go. And then I very quickly realized that you need these ASIC chips. And I scoured the entire world to buy them, and I couldn't find them anywhere. There was one website in China that they would sell out in like 15 seconds. And I thought, well, hang on a second. If I can't buy them, how many other people can't buy them either? Mm-hmm. And so I contacted a Swedish engineering company. I said, look, I want to make the world's fastest microchip for Bitcoin processing. And they said, why? So I went back, I did some research, I set up a website, took registrations, free notes of interest, got thousands of registrations in a few weeks, took them back to the engineering company, and I said, look, it's real, people will pay thousands of dollars for one of these chips. And one sold on eBay last night for $50,000. Oh, okay, let's have a look at it. So then I said to the engineering company, I said, look, I'm not going to pay by the hour to design my chip. You're going to have to come in 50-50 and do it properly. After a bit of persuasion, they basically said yes. We built a demo called Mars that has FPGAs. These are programmable chips. And so you buy them off the shelf, put the bit of software on them, and they run. And so our engineers turned that around in about 2 weeks' time. There's a video of me on YouTube, you see me with the Mars. And from that moment forth, we said, right, now the notes of interest of people, you're going to have to pay a deposit to produce these ones. We need millions of dollars, and we basically had zero. Mm-hmm. But within the first, I think it was the first 4 days, $6 million arrived from people all over the world, 130 plus countries, wanting to pay a deposit for one of our devices.
One thing I'm curious about the whole, I still can't wrap my head around this concept, because if you can build a machine that can make money,
yes,
why would you ever sell that machine?
Okay, so I've built a company that has now been valued, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Did I do it wrong? Was there a better way?
I don't know. But now, are you keeping all the machines for yourself?
No, so the reason basically is that the economy changes. And so right now, the generation price of a Bitcoin is very close to the resale price of the Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And so because there needs to be a profit margin for the hardware manufacturer, that margin basically gets squeezed too much, and there's no real justification for buying one of the machines and having it in your house or in your small office or something like that. It doesn't work at that scale anymore. When the Bitcoin price goes up again, because it goes up in waves, we will not be able to deploy 100 facilities. It won't work. So we'll go back to the people around the world will then be able to buy the devices and buy the machines and use them at home. Mm-hmm. So right now, those margins are too tight. It only works at hyperscale.
Yeah. And talking about scale, how did you actually find this place, and why did you choose this place?
So we chose Bowdoin for a few reasons. We scoured the entire world. Right? We looked at absolutely everywhere. Must have good communications, must be secure, and it must have good, abundant, cheap power. We looked at Iceland, we looked at Finland, we looked at Norway, we looked at Dubai, we basically looked everywhere. And we got a phone call from the Node Pole, which is the data center company up here, and says, look, we've got a good climate, we've got data center, we've got some buildings, come and have a look. So I came up here in August 2013, and they showed me a picture of a hangar, and they wanted to sell me a small section of the room, and I said, no, I want the whole building, and I want to move in February. And they said, oh, that's, we've got to knock it down. I said, no, leave it as it is. We want the canvas doors that we can open. We want cold air just blowing across the side. You're not building a data center. I said, well, we call it industrial computing, because really it's not a data center. The data centers on TVs don't look like this, right? Over in the corner over there, we have 4 or 5 regular servers. That's all we've got. The rest is our own stuff. It's our own racks, our own kit. And so we moved in, and the building was operational within 36 hours of us turning the key in the door.
Excuse me. In terms of, because the electricity in Denmark is around 2 kroners per kilowatt hour.
2 Danish crowns?
Yeah. So that would be, it's a bit more. So 2.5 Swedish kroners per kilowatt hour.
Okay.
Would you be able to run your business with that price? Would it make sense?
2.5 Danish crowns per kilowatt hour. I mean, we're down at Øre over here. It would probably not make sense at this level, but I do believe that Apple have just moved into Denmark to build a rather large facility, and I'm not sure the price they're paying, but I don't think it's that much.
No. It's probably not. No. Most of it actually, I guess, around 90% is
it's
like
probably taxes
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
we did look at Denmark, but we were not big enough at that time to demand the big negotiations. Whereas up here in Sweden, they could kind of do some research on us, and we've expanded slowly with Vattenfall and with the local energy companies, and now we're obviously a major customer, and now we have really good pricing. But before, we kind of had to pay retail price.
And now is the time that you say, you Danes simply have too good weather for us.
Well, at the moment, you guys don't have the minus 25, right? We want the minus 25.
So how much are you actually paying for your electricity?
We don't disclose our fees, but basically electricity is regulated. The electricity price is regulated, but then there's the distribution on top and the taxes, and we try to minimize those as much as possible by agreeing to pay in different types of terms. But our actual price is pretty secret.
It's pretty secret, but it's also pretty low, I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't the lowest we could find.
Okay. And in terms of value, because usually if you go to a gold mine, right, you see they bring out a lot of rock and they crush it, and at the end you have gold and you can actually see it.
Yeah, you see it.
Your product is very invisible.
Yes.
But what is the value of it? What in terms of?
In terms of the value of the product, the dollar price, the Bitcoin dollar price is how we have to, at the moment, calculate our value. So we know that we can sell them for, on the market today, $285, $290. And so the value of each coin is that at the time of purchasing. As long as we're producing coins for less than that, we're doing a profit, we're winning. As soon as it goes over that, then we start turning off, we start replacing equipment, we start going to new generations.
And when you're fully equipped here, how many coins will you be able to mine a day?
When this one is fully equipped, we will have what we call a calculating amount, so we turn it in petashes. And how many coins that will make a day depends on our competition, because like I said, there's one set of coins released every 10 minutes. There's 100 people trying, you get 1/100th of it if they're all equal. So it's about the percentage of the network that we have. We will never go over 40% of the network, but we're going to try to get as close to it as possible.
40%, so you're trying to actually, on these facilities, on these grounds, have 40% of the computing power in the Bitcoin network?
Something like that, yes. Maybe not all just around here.
Okay.
We'll have to expand other places because we need so much power that there's not that much in the ground available for us today. But in these facilities, that's what we're going to aim towards. I hope we get there soon, but I'm not sure exactly when.
Okay. So talking more on a sort of not non-concrete sort of terms, more general. So you put in a lot of man hours, a lot of hardware, a lot of electricity. You are pouring money into an invisible digital hole. What is the actual value that you're creating?
The security. What is it worth to prove that the transaction actually happened internationally? At the moment, there's a lot of inside banks. There's a lot of trust that when you send funds from one place to another place, there's a trusted party in the middle. The Bitcoin network works without a trusted party. So person A and person B don't have to trust either each other or the central system. What's the value in that when there is just pure free trade? It goes back much more to when gold exchanged hand person to person. You trusted it was the gold, that was the value, that was the weight. And you could check it. When I was trading with gold, you could weigh it, go, yeah, that's a kilo, fine. You can do that with Bitcoin. You don't have to have a bank in between or a financial system in between saying, yes, he has the money to give to you, he is good for it, please give him the goods, he'll pay you later. It doesn't exist.
And what does that mean?
Well, it means that people can trade freely, internationally, over the web, instantaneously, without having to worry about, will I get the money, will I not get the money? Right now, a credit card can be what we call friendly fraud. Where I go to a restaurant, I swipe my card, and the restaurant then takes the money from me. I then leave. The restaurant then adds a little bit of tip to that and takes some more money. Right? Am I going to complain? Probably if I notice it, but if it's just a few dollars, I might not notice it. Well, with Bitcoin, you can't do that. You can never take more money than I've sent to you. But it goes the other way around as well. The merchant, on the other hand, when they swipe the $10 and the guy leaves the store with the $10 worth of items, he can phone up his credit card and say, I didn't do that. And immediately he'll get the $10 back. Now the merchant has lost in that one. Whereas with Bitcoin, neither the merchant loses or the customer. It's a much fairer system. And that's worth a lot of money.
I did a program on Bitcoin 2 years ago and talked to this esteemed professor of economics. And he said, Bitcoin, it's funny money, it's Smurf berries, they don't have any value, they don't have an intrinsic value.
No.
What would you say to him?
What does have intrinsic value? I would ask him that question to start with. The dollars or the crowns in your account, do they have an intrinsic value? Well, only inside Denmark, really. If you were to go with a 100 Danish crown note to the middle of China, what's it worth? What can you buy with it? Probably not very much, because no one would take it. It has no value in that situation. So there are lots of things that have value in certain specific circumstances. But Bitcoins have values almost everywhere. They're traded in nearly every country in the world. They have a local value. As long as the merchant understands what it is, they have a value to them. But that's the same with everything.
So right now, I've been trying to pay with Bitcoins and use Bitcoins in different places in the world. And I always find it very hard to find someone who actually accepts it.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because it's still very, very, very small. It is not widely adopted or widely used. I will definitely agree to that. It's a beginning. It's only a few years old. Credit cards, after they were a few years old, did not have as much adoption as Bitcoin does today. Bitcoin is used in thousands or hundreds of thousands of places, but not hundreds of millions of places. Right? It is still very, very small. But even so, the value of it is still multi-billion dollar. I think we're at a $5 billion market cap today. That's an incredible growth from the beginning, but it is early.
So where do you see this going?
I think it will go, the Bitcoin, the currency will be around for a long time, but the underpinning of the publicly auditable ledger will become more and more part of regular things. Right now, inside financial institutions, they have something called clearing and settlement. When a trade happens, there's a whole very expensive settlement and clearing system that goes on to make sure the funds arrive in the right place at the right time. Bitcoin is both the payment, the clearing, and the settlement in one transaction. That will replace an awful lot of archaic systems without people even knowing about it. People will be sending money internationally without knowing it's Bitcoin or the public ledger underneath it. That's where I think it's going to go.
So you see it more as a sort of infrastructure thing that you're building?
It is purely infrastructure. It is the TCP/IP of payments. That's the way to look at it. You do not know that when you're surfing the internet, it's a TCP/IP connection you're making, it's that protocol that you're using. Nobody knows about it, nobody even thinks about it. There's soft things put in front so that you don't know that. When you're sending an email, you do not know that it's an SMTP protocol going underneath. You don't need to know. And that's what will happen, is Bitcoin will become the underlying technology, the ledger base, so that people can audit publicly, but you may never know you're using it.
So what would you say to the skeptics?
There were an awful lot of skeptics about an awful lot of technologies. There were skeptics about mechanical horses when they were turned into motor cars and carriageless horses, all sorts of things. There's been skeptics through the whole way. I think even Xerox, the photocopy company, have a quote saying the world only needs like 25 photocopiers. There's been skeptics all the way through. As long as they do their research properly, I'll listen to them. But if they haven't done their research, there's no point listening to them.
Sweet. Can you show us around and talk like about the things that we see on our way? Okay, so we have 10 minutes. Yeah.
What?
Close up. It's possible to see.
Yeah, you can take as much close-ups of this stuff as you like. Okay. There is kind of empty. It's empty shells, right? Okay. I don't know what you guys want to see.
It's on over der.
Okay. Ja, okay.
Yeah, it's a bit dusty.
Nå nej, fordi det er lige meget, fordi det er jo bare, hvad det er.
Ja.
Men så længe vi har lidt, as long as we have some time afterwards to do some close-ups, we don't have to use your time
Fine.
to do that.
What else would you like
Yeah.
from me?
All right. So you mentioned this, how this technology might become the underlying sort of framework that everything else runs on. What could prevent that?
Well, if people don't want to use it, it's a voluntary system. No one's forcing anyone to use it. It can be prevented by legislation or regulation, but it's going to have to be regulated somewhere like the internet, locally, which means that, the internet can be used for lots of things outside a jurisdiction, and so Bitcoin may become hugely ingrained into the mobile phone payment network called M-Pesa in Kenya. It may be that kind of replacement. It doesn't have to globally dominate the world, but it can be used in very specific use cases, and it may be that it's regulated against in certain circumstances. I'm pretty sure that there are some governments that won't like the capital flight, that they cannot control Bitcoin. Bitcoin is free movement, right? And if you want to shut yourself off from Bitcoin, that country has to disconnect the internet, and I'm pretty sure they won't want to do that. So there'll be heavy regulation, which may stop it growing, but it will probably then grow elsewhere.
So if you could imagine I'm 5 years old or 6 years old, and I have some kroner, I have some cash,
Yep.
I have some gold, and I have these invisible digital Bitcoin.
Yep.
What are the pros and cons?
Well, the invisible digital Bitcoin you can spend wherever you are against or towards whatever you want. The gold, you got to take it somewhere, and you've got to go to a specific merchant that will cash it in for you. And the krona you can only use in your local shops. Bitcoin you can use in all three of those locations. Mm-hmm. So Bitcoin is more versatile than what you've got in hand. It is cash on the internet. It is cash over IP. It is all the things and above. So I find it incredibly more useful than the others.
So why is it that the adoption is so slow? And the reason that I'm saying this is, like, I'm like a D-rating known person from a nerdy television show
Sure.
in Denmark, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's like I'm totally not a Shendis person
that's
at
okay.
all, but I still have way more followers on Twitter than many of the big Bitcoin operations.
Yeah.
So why is it still so small?
So it is still too small because it's incredibly volatile. It's still a bit geeky. How many people had email accounts in 1994? Did you? You have to think about it. And you
95 maybe.
Yeah, I didn't say 95 for a reason, right? Because it became popular in 95, 96, 97. It became really popular then. But before then, I had one, and I was a little spotty teenager, and I found one. I had like 25 friends, but it was still very much a geeky orientated system. But as soon as the wave starts to coming, it doesn't stop. And now, how many email accounts do you actually have? Do you know?
Yeah, well, I have an indefinite number because I have my own domain.
There you go, right? So that's the point, is when the wave happens, it will happen massively. But right now, I think it's pretty big, but it is still tiny on a global scale, absolutely.
So there are people using Bitcoin, like not too many, but people using it, and there are people investing.
Yes.
Would you give us an advice to invest in Bitcoin?
I do not give investment advice in any way, shape or form. People have to do their own research. But there are instruments. We have our own financial instrument listed on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange. It basically is an investable instrument. It's a tracker, so it tracks the Bitcoin price. But you can then go with your Sparkasse, and you can go and you can buy this certificate. So if you want to do it, you can contact your local bank or your local branch or your local stockbroker and have them do it for you. Or you can open an account on one of the exchanges wherever you want to. There's normally, I think there's one in Denmark which is called. Let's give him a plug. Let me try this again. There is one. Coinify? No, I'm going for the big Euro one.
CoinDesk?
CoinDesk. Kraken. I think Kraken in Denmark. So there's one in Denmark called Kraken. They take euros and Danish crowns, and you can buy them with them. And I think you can even open it with the Danish ID system that they've got.
One thing I'm curious about, because we talked about the volatility of this thing, and this is your and I know you don't give investment advice, and this is not the investment show, so we're not doing that. But because obviously, a thing like this would make a lot of people sort of hesitant to actually, can we sort of trust this thing and will
Sure.
it work? And this is the Bitcoin price.
So
from-
let's draw a line from there to there and tell me if it's up.
yeah, so that'd be here.
Yeah, that looks pretty up to me, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But there are peaks and troughs along the way. Absolutely. And
So
you
where,
can-
where would you put the future?
Where would I put the future?
Uh-huh.
Well, here's the thing. Bitcoin can be successful at whatever the value is. It can still, as long as there is enough usage, then it doesn't really have to have a price. But it does have to increase in value the more people use it. Because Bitcoins, they're a finite number. If everyone in the world wants to have one, how much are you going to willing to pay for that one? Probably quite a lot, so it needs to be hundreds of thousands of dollars in the end. But getting there, it could be peaks and troughs along the way. I'm not going to give you a price prediction.
So you're not going to draw on this guy
I'm
here.
not going to draw on this guy here, no.
Fair
But I
enough.
can tell it definitely goes up. It does come down, but it goes up in waves with adoption.
So what could throw a spanner in the works?
Like I said, the regulation could throw a spanner in the works. Local governments could say, not in this country, shut it down, and that would move out. It's not likely to happen. Most of the governments haven't regulated the internet. Regulated what you can do on top of it, but no one's actually regulated the IP framework underneath. So we're expecting Bitcoin to be much more like that. The unregulated service network or the protocol, and then the services on top, the voting, the smart contracts, the software, those kind of things, maybe there'll be more jurisdiction or regulation around those guys. But the actual protocol, I'm pretty sure no one can touch it.
Okay, I'm just going to go through my questions here. Yeah. All right, so boiling this down to a very simple question. On the American dollar,
Yes.
in God we trust.
Yes.
And that by proxy means that you can trust the dollar in some sense, or they're willing to go very far to make you trust the dollar. How can I trust Bitcoin?
Well, the thing is, what you do trust is that what you have, when you have them on your phone, when you have that private key, is say you have 5 Bitcoins. Well, you have the same percentage of all the world's Bitcoins that are ever going to be. That doesn't change if you keep those 5. If you have 1 or if you have $5, what percentage of the dollars in circulation do you have? Well, it fluctuates wildly and massively. Someone else can just devalue your dollar by printing loads more. Because Bitcoin is finite, that can't happen. Quantitative easing doesn't exist in the world of Bitcoin. You can always trust that you have the same percentage amount of coins in the world. What they'll buy is different, but what a dollar buys also changes.
But in terms of, because all this to me also seems like sort of black magic, right? How can I trust what's going on?
It's publicly verifiable. Everyone can go and check it. The whole source code that we run here today is all public. Anyone with enough intelligence can go and have a look at it. And that's not to say that everyone in the world has enough knowledge of programming to look at it, but it is all there. Anyone that has a friend that they trust or a source they trust that can read it can go ahead and look. And it's been viewed millions of times by hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, making sure that it's solid, safe and secure. How many people have seen the source code inside Coca-Cola? Not very many, right? How many people have seen what goes into an actual dollar bill? Not very many. Do we trust them? Yes. But we should also be able to trust things that's publicly verifiable.
All right. That's it.
Makes sense?
Thank you for your time.
No problem. I hope it helps.
And it's been great. It's an amazing place. I'm like,
Yeah, it was a bit more impressive when it was all full, but now we're in the middle
yeah,
of
well, you get sort of
you can kind of get there.
yeah,
Kinda get
absolutely, absolutely. Probably. Oh yeah, one last thing, but Sune, and this has nothing to do with KNC mining, but it's just a concept that I'd like to
KNC Miner.
miner. Sorry about
That's
that.
right. Or KNC. You
One,
can go as KNC.
one thing I'm trying to wrap my head around is cloud hashing, that you're actually paying someone to be part of the network. How does that make sense?
In terms of what?
In terms of, say, okay, so you have a machine that can...
This one here?
Yeah. You have
Yep.
a machine that can... This machine makes money.
Yes.
Right. What's the business model in me renting a part of that machine?
So the simplest business model that a lot of people follow is how much do I think I can earn for that machine in 6 months? If you pay me more than that, I'll sell it to you. That's real simple, right? There's another way is I need to buy another one of those machines. You give me 80% of what it will generate, but I can buy 2. And then after you finished, I have 2 machines.
Yeah.
That's the expansion model.
And your electricity is so much cheaper than mine. So it actually makes
So
sense.
that's why you would buy, not why I would sell. You asked the question why I would sell.
Yeah.
The reason you would buy it is simply because no maintenance, no management, no hassle, no setup, instant on. 100 reasons why you would buy.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Skide godt.
Super. Lad os gå op til platformen.
Ja.
Og så lave din
Ja.
her.
Ja.
Det her.
Ja.
Og så lige nogle hurtige transportbilleder og
Yes.
så om 5-6 minutter.
Okay. Hvornår er det, vi flyver?
2.
14:00.
Ja.
Okay. We're flying out at 2 o'clock, so.
Jag förstår det.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. I'm very curious to see where this is going.
Yes. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Nej, du må ellers godt være med. Okay, kan du sætte dig?
Yeah, he gave you good answers to this. He gave you thorough answers. I hope?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, you don't want to talk specific numbers, and that's fine.
No, that's what I also guessed.
Yeah.
Are you going to do interviews in any other
We have
miners?
not Bitcoin miners, no, but we have done already. We've done segments. We're in a store in Los Angeles where they have a like you put in your good American dollars and nothing comes out, right?
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And
To the machine.